Hey everybody, welcome back to the Raw Read. I am so glad you decided to stop by and see what I'm reading on. But before we get started, you already know I ask every day. I will continue to ask every day until you become a part of our community. And that's why we are building a community here. We are building a tribe and we want you to be a part of it. And let me tell you, it is the best one on these internet streets, if I have to say so myself. Now, if you don't believe me, go in the comments, talk to somebody, get involved with the conversation, get involved with the chit chat. And let me tell you, you will meet the most terrific people. They're intelligent, they're kind, they're sweet, they're just everything. And when you decide that you want to be a part of this community, you know what you need to do. Go down in those settings, look around, find that subscribe button, and go ahead on and subscribe. And while you're in there, hit your notification bell too so you'll know when I upload or when I just want to pop in. And give me a thumbs up to fight my nemesis, the beast, the algorithm. It does nothing but drag me. But sometimes I get a few hits in there, I must say. Also, I just want to thank everybody who supports the channel by watching the commercials. Listen, it is such a huge, huge support. And I just want to give you a shout out and say thank you, thank you, thank you, because I know it's not easy. They are boring. I know, I know, but it really helps the channel when you decide to support that way. And also over here, right over here in the corner, that's our join button. And if you decide to become a part of our reading club and a channel member, you will be supporting my channel to grow, to improve, and to continue. And I will be so grateful, so thankful, so over the moon appreciative to have your support. Also, if you just want to do a one-time donation over there in the corner, that's our super thanks. And all donations to the channel is always, always greatly appreciated. All right, y'all, I do have some shout outs. I have quite a few, but I am not going to do them on this particular podcast because I always like to do my shout outs when I am showing my face. And tomorrow I will be doing that and I will be doing all the shout outs. Well, with all that said, let's get to the read, y'all. Y'all know I always have a lot because I be on these internet streets just digging around and being nosy. I find so much. I really, really do. So I have found quite a bit today as well. So y'all know when I am putting the read together, y'all know what I do. I hit these internet streets, and that's exactly what I have been doing today, most of the day, just nosing around, just going to all the social media platforms. Yes, I was over to Spoutable, and that is something new because one of the readers in the comments said, "Don't forget about going over to Spoutable." And I say, "You are right." So I headed over to Spoutable, and then I went over to Blue Sky. Then I hit up TikTok, and then I made my way over to Instagram, seeing what the Instagram squatties was up to, seeing what Meghan was up to. I didn't see very much that Meghan was up to, but you know, you have to keep an eye on her every day. Every day you have to go over there and try to stalk her because she will post sometime every day. But I didn't see anything today. But the squatties over on Instagram, they are still dragging that Kenduka lady, which she deserves it. I hope they continue to drag her until Harry absolutely is back at the helm of Cinnabale. But I digress, and a lot of talk about Harry going to court. Yes, it's a lot of talk about that, and just a lot of talk about Charles and his horse. This is their 20th wedding anniversary. And I tell you what, they didn't get a whole lot of well wishers because I saw where a lot of people was posting, like ABC and the BBC and Chris Ship and you name it. It was a lot of different news organizations was posting about their 20th wedding anniversary. But if you go in those comments, woo, they were being nothing but disrespectful with their full chest in those comments. And we're going to talk about that as well. And there's other little things that we're going to talk about. It is so much. It is, well, I'm telling you, when you take the time to dig around, it is always a lot to talk about. But we're going to start with this. And I'm going to put it up. And look at this. You know what they say? Men lie, women lie, but the numbers do not lie. And look at what we have found out about the ratings when it comes to confessions of a female founder. And this particular squatty said this: rankings in business podcasts for the debut episode. Look at this. Number one in the USA, number one in Canada, number two in the UK, and number four in Australia. 4.1 out of 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Yes, Meghan is doing the doggone thing. And I just love it. I must say, I do. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And it says, imagine much of a country's media slagging off every little thing you do or don't do. It's beyond unhinged. It's so vile. Where is the lie in that? I mean, all you have to do is to go on YouTube and put Megan's name in, and it is just one video after another of them slagging her off, saying that she doesn't know what she's doing, that she's irrelevant, she's this, she's that, and the other thing. And Meghan just continues to put the points on the board. She continues to defy their expectations of her. Every time she proves them out to be the liars that they are, because they say she's one thing, but then when she shows up, she is something totally different. And it only makes them look stupid, foolish, just absolutely obsessively bitter. That's it. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this up from Yahoo Entertainment, and they're talking about Megan's podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, and it says this: just call me Meghan. What we learned from the debut episode of the Duchess of Sussex new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. Well, basically, Meghan was telling her guest, Whitney, to just call her Meghan. I love that. I love that. Because at the end of the day, it is Meghan and Harry that brings the eyeballs, okay? Not the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I mean, it's all nice and dandy to have those titles, but they are not essential to Harry and Meghan's success. They just are not. Because Meghan had proven herself to be successful prior to ever being a part of that family over there. Meghan was a millionaire many, many times over when she came into that family. And look what Harry had done within that family. So they don't need those titles. They do not to be successful. But we all know it's plenty of people across the pond that is part of that family that do. Look at Kitty Cat. Do you honestly think anybody would be interested in anything Kitty Cat had to say if she did not have a title? Because they just pretend and nod and look at her and be trying to figure out what she's trying to say when she's trying to tie 2 or 3 sentences together. They do that out of courtesy because she has a title. Do you honestly think that they would waste their time to try to figure out what she's talking about if she didn't have a title? And William and Charles have the personality of an eggplant. Do you honestly think people would be bothered with them if they had no title? And let's not even get into the horse. I'm telling you, who would be bothered with that? Well, I might have to back up off of that a little bit because, it has been said that she is very talented in one area that has pretty much put her at the top of the food chain. So I don't know. She didn't have a title when she was married to when she had that other owner. And she was able to parlay her talents into being the Queen of England. So maybe I'm wrong about the horse. Yeah, I am too bad. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this up. And this particular squatty said this. First podcast out of the gate, Megan Sussex is already bringing awareness to a life or death issue many women are facing. Thank you, Megan. And of course, they're talking about the postpartum preeclampsia and how the preeclampsia foundation actually posted about what Megan said. And this is what the Preeclampsia Foundation posted. It says, "We're so grateful for the awareness that Meghan Markle is bringing to postpartum preeclampsia, a life threatening hypertensive disorder of pregnancy. Preeclampsia can occur up to 6 weeks postpartum and can be life threatening." And then they give the website. I love this. Megan is actually, when she speaks out and shares her experience. I remember when she spoke out about her miscarriage, and everybody always want to jump on her. Well, not everybody. We all know the usual suspects from across the pond always want Megan to be quiet about her own story. They don't want her to talk about that family over there, and they don't want her to talk about herself. I have just never saw or heard of anything like it before in my life. They just don't want her to say anything. But when those other people over there speaks out, y'all remember when they tried to claim that Kitty Cat having cancer had saved so many lives, and she has never really spoken about what kind of cancer she's had or any of her experiences except that nonsense she was talking about when she visited that hospital. And she hadn't said anything since because that was nothing but foolishness, and pretty much let everybody know that she has never had cancer, because who in the world have chemotherapy and get as much sun and be as toasty brown as she was, and talking about drinking a lot of water and never even heard of a cold cap and was sitting there with a full head of sitting there with a full head of hair. I cannot with Kitty Cat, y'all. I cannot. She needs to stop, and they need to stop trying to convince us that this woman has anything to contribute to society. She is a empty vessel and something to be mocked, because every time they try to make her into something that she's not, it is comical to say the least. But also, I'm gonna put this up. Uh, this particular squatty posted how those other women over there spoke out about what had their experiences. They said Sophie had a miscarriage. I didn't know anything about that. And then Zara, she spoke out about opening up about her two miscarriages. But y'all remember when Megan spoke out about her miscarriage? They didn't want her to say anything about that. Well, we all know why, because they know who caused that miscarriage. They didn't want her to go into details of how she had been abused and mistreated to the point where she miscarried her child. And it's the same thing with this. They want her to be abused in silence. They want her to be silent and allow them to abuse her in peace. This is what it's all about. But we know that that will never, ever happen. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this up. And this particular squatty reposted something from Time Radio. You know, they have that podcast where all of those women, so called royal reporters, have a podcast, and their favorite topic is always Meghan. I have just never saw anything like it before in my life. They have a whole royal family, complete royal family over there, and they cannot keep Meghan's name out of their mouth. They cannot keep Harry's name out of their mouth. And just like clockwork, Harry and Meghan minding their business, working just like everybody else over here in America, trying to make a living, trying to support their family, doing things that so they can support their family. These people just cannot keep their names out of their mouths. The obsession is so real. And here we have Time Radio, and this is what they posted. It says the advice that Meghan tends to take is her own advice. Well, all I can say to that is it seems to be working for her because she keeps putting the points on the board. And she has been way more successful than any of you hags. What we talking about? We're talking about Roy Nicka and Kate Manzi, and I don't know who this pie-faced woman is on this particular post, but yet and still they have so much criticism and they have so much critique for a woman who is far and beyond more successful than they are and far and beyond more talented. But yet and still here they are talking about Meghan only takes her own advice. And like I said, if that's true, she's getting it from someone who absolutely is successful, unlike you, is on this third-rate podcast that nobody listens to. But yet and still, you got so much smoke for Meghan. Stop it. Stop it, and stop it right now. And it goes on to say Meghan's new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, is providing the public with more ammunition after she makes comments that are not entirely relatable, says the Sunday Times' Roy Nicka. Roy Nicka, who does nothing but bootlick for that family over there, has the nerve to try to critique Meghan, talking about she's not relatable to you, to you. But she has proven to be really relatable to a whole lot of other people because that's what makes her successful. Stop it. Like I said, just stop it. And this particular squatty that reposted this nonsense says, insecure, mediocre women present themselves as journalists but are really glorified gossipers. Where is the lie? Where is the lie? It says, exert unwarranted criticism towards a woman they seemingly perceive as superior. Got it. Exactly. They know Meghan is head, shoulders, knees, and toes above them, but yet and still they cannot help themselves from being jealous. They cannot help themselves from being envious. They cannot help themselves to bootlick for that family over there. I mean, we all know that this is all they do. They are a PR arm of that family over there. And anybody with any kind of objectivity knows that Meghan has a great podcast and one way better than the one that they are on. But they cannot allow themselves to be honest because they know that they have to bootleg. They are jealous. They're envious. and they just do not measure up to Meghan. And it makes them feel very, very inferior, just like this particular squatter was saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this up. And it says, it's a stark contrast, isn't it? While Meghan surrounds herself with driven, uplifting voices, Kate seems to be stuck in a palace bubble, rigid, performative, and curated for optics. Where is the lie? It's all about the money shot. And that's pretty much the way it is for all of them, not just Kate. But I digress. It goes on to say, one chose growth and authenticity, and the other chose pageantry and silence. Well, that's true. That's true. Meghan is her true self, and her true self is excellence. She's smart, she's capable, she is a visionary. Kate is a empty vessel. Always have been. She is her true self now. They have tried to make Kate into something that she's not. And every time they do that, she just falls apart on the world stage. She is just a empty vessel. She is a clothes hanger, and she can't be anything any different. Like I said, they have tried and tried and tried, and she always comes up short because she is not Meghan. She's not. They want her to be, but she just cannot pull it off because hers is pageantry and fakery. It is just that. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm gonna put this up. And this squatty posted this from Fortune magazine. Meghan is featured in Fortune magazine, in there being the lady boss that she is. And they're talking about her products and how they're made in the US, and how she does not anticipate any tariff to affect her business directly. And I'm going to read it. It says Fortune magazine, and Meghan says, at the moment, all of our products are currently made in the US, so we don't anticipate tariff affecting us directly. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, told Fortune. Yes, Meghan is in there being the boss that she is. And this particular squatty that posted this said this: Meghan is on the move, building a brand. I am not sure why we have to validate what anyone says in the damaged UK media or the Royal Rotors or any above. They mean nothing. She left 5 years ago, never looked back. She has moved forward doing her thing, happily married, have her children. Hashtag as ever. Exactly. Meghan is a boss lady now. She is in Fortune magazine. She is building her fortune for her and her family. And that is all that matters. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this up, and y'all remember I talked about how Kaiser had written an article about an article that the Daily Mail had that was so unhinged. It was a review of Megan's Jam. Y'all remember that? And I said to myself when I saw that, I think they had two articles. One was about how runny the jam was, which it's not a jam, it's actually a spread. And then they had this other unhinged article or review, that's what they called it, of the jam, saying that it was like too tart or something. I can't even remember what it was about because it was so stupid to me. But it was also funny because the jam got more interest than any of those left behinds over there. You are really circling the drain when you cannot overshadow a jar of jam, but I do digress. And so I thought that was the most silliest, article that had ever been written, or that it was so unhinged the way the Daily Mail was addressing a jar of jam. And it's just so bizarre to me. But you know what? The Times of London actually have topped that as, being unhinged. They have absolutely won up the Daily Mail. And you know what they did? I'm going to put this up. This particular squatty is absolutely posting about it. And it says, yep, that's the time using three people to conduct a blindfold taste test of three different jams, one of which includes Duchess Meghan's as ever raspberry jam. Guess who won? Now, I love it that the fact that all of them chose Megan's jam. I watched the little clip and all of them chose Megan's jam, saying it was the best, it was most delicious, and on and on and on, which tells you that it has to be good if these people, these sycophants over to the Times of London, would choose her jam. But my whole thing is, it's so unhinged. I mean, just think about it. Get your head wrapped around it. Megan's jam. They are actually going through this exercise of choosing, taste testing this jam. I mean, it's crazy to me. It is crazy to me. Nothing that family over there that actually lives in London, the king and his horse live in London. William and Kate has an apartment in London. I mean, that whole family is over there across the pond, but yet and still they seem to be obsessed with Meghan and anything about Meghan and Harry. When Harry landed on those shores over there, they seemed like they lost their mind. I mean, their collective mind. Can you imagine if Harry, Meghan, and those two redhead babies land on the shores over there? They would not be able to hold their, you know what? They would not. They would all have to walk around in diapers. It is just that crazy to me. But yes, that is what the Times of London was doing with Megan Jam. I guess they have flown all the way to America to get some jam and did a taste test on it. Can you imagine? It is crazy to me. It's crazy. I'm gonna put this one up. It says Megan Sussex is spreading love. You can't fake influence. Evidently not. And you cannot fake obsession, because it's nobody across that pond has been able to do so, because it is on full display. It seems like it is no threshold for their obsession. Who does this? And I'm going to put this up, y'all. This particular squatty is talking about Harry being in the UK and how good he is looking out here in these streets. And I agree. We all know that Harry is in the UK for his court hearing about his and his family's security, how it was stripped away unceremoniously by that family over there. We all know they try to pin it on a Ravak, but we know that it was nobody but Charles and William. But I digress. Harry's out here showing how unbothered he is, how moisturized and how tan he is looking, well fed at that. And this particular squatty said this: Harry looks so happy and healthy when you remove the toxicity out of your life. You flourish even when they are making a lot of noise about you. Your strength and power outweighs and outshine their hate. Where is the lie? Because Harry is out here looking good and looking totally and completely unbothered. I love that for him because just so you know, him looking like this is like darts to their eyes. They want him to be broke down. They want him to be downtrodden. They want him to look like he is defeated. But Harry is out here looking like he won the lottery, baby. And he did. He absolutely did. Because when he had the opportunity to get away from those folks and to live his life in freedom, he won the lottery. And boy, it shows on him. I love it. All right, y'all. By the way, I just want to say, y'all be patient with me with my voice. I know it is sounding really froggy, but it's my sinuses. It's that time of year, so be patient with me. It will get eventually get back to normal. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this up, and this is a repost, and the original post said this: cheers for Prince Harry as he leaves the London High Court at the end of 2 days security appeal. Well done. Yes, it was cheers. And this particular squatty reposted that and said, very loud cheers indeed, and this is why they hate him. Where is the lie? Where is it? I'm searching. I'm looking under my couch as I speak for the lie because of the fact that Harry gets cheers. Harry gets a crowd. Harry gets nothing but love even after they have tried everything, everything to turn the British people against him. They still show up for him. They still show him love. They do. And I love that about them. Their ability to see straight through the BS that those rags over there are peddling about Harry, trying to get them, convince them to hate Harry, but they just can't seem to close the deal when it comes to the British people. It's a segment of the British people that is always going to love Harry, always going to show up for Harry, always going to support him. And they hate that. And they hate him for it because they have done everything they know to turn the British public against Harry. But it just hasn't worked. And every time Harry shows up, it is always people going to show up to show him love. Not when it comes to their king and his horse. They get eggs flying over their heads, and if he hadn't caught cancer, he maybe would have had to abdicate. But he absolutely caught his performative cancer in order to stop those eggs from flying over his head. I have said that many, many, many times. And we all know that Willie Leaks. What does Harry call him? Call him Willie. Willie absolutely cannot go anywhere without somebody booing him or not showing up for him. Nothing but empty barriers when he gets there to greet him. Nothing like Harry. But yes, that is the reason why they hate him. And then this particular squatty goes on to say, because after 5 years of continuously attacking him and his wife, people will wait outside for effing court just to catch a glimpse of him and cheer him on. Where is the lie? Where is the lie? This is exactly what happened. And I am going to put up a picture of Harry, and then I am going to play the sound bite of the cheers and just let it wash over you. The cheers of the British people cheering on Harry as he comes out of court. This is why they hate him, because they have not been able to close the deal with the British public when it comes to Harry and when it comes to Meghan and their family. They have not been able to turn the British public against them. And they have done everything they could do. They have pulled every trick out of their bag of tricks, but it has never worked. So I'm going to put Harry up, and then we are going to listen to the glorious sounds of the cheers of the British people for their prince. All right, you heard it for yourself. There they were, showing up for Harry, cheering Harry on. I'm telling you, I know that went straight to the heart of those left behinds over there, because we all know that they have always resented Harry for the love that he gets from the British people. And for them to show up like that and to cheer him on, oh, I'm just saying, that is so delicious. Bring on the salty tears. I am sure we're going to get one or two more articles from Tom Sykes, of one of Willie Leake's favorite toadies, about how he hates his brother, how he doesn't want him at the coronation, all because of the fact that every time Harry shows up in the UK, the UK public shows him nothing but love, and they hate him for that. And we all know that one thing that Willie Leaks hate most of all is Harry being shown love. He don't want Harry to have any of that. He want it all for himself. But unfortunately, the only love he gets is from the British press, the British media, the one that he has the invisible contract with. They manufacture all that nonsense for him to pump him up, to prop him up. But when he gets out among real people, he gets nothing. He absolutely gets nothing. And I just love that for him. I do. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this up. And this was in the Daily Fail. And it's an article by Richard Kay. And he's coming out attacking Harry for his mere existence and his, I guess, him showing up to be in court about something that's in his best interest and the best interest of his family, and that would be his security. But somehow Richard Kay finds it to be a slight against Charles. And the name of the article, the title of the article is Richard Kay. What an outrage that Harry's scene stealing should come at the expense of his cancer stricken father. I kid you not. I kid you not. Call Harry scene stealing. My goodness. Well, all I can say to that is this: Harry had no other choice. The court set the date. He just showed up on the date that the court had set. Well, Charles, I am sure if he was interested, he could have moved the date for his state dinner in France to any date he wanted to. But yet and still, I think he did it on purpose so he could be out of town, because he knew Harry was coming. Because we all know that Harry has to give them, what, 28 days notice before he comes into Great Britain, into the UK. So Charles was fully aware that Harry was coming. And so he is the one that made sure that he was out of town. But somehow Richard K want to come in here and attack Harry, like I said, for his mere existence. Now, the shine that he is talking about when it comes to Harry is the shine that Harry was born with. It's the shine that his mother gave to him and not to William. And it's nothing Harry can do about that. He has a lovable spirit. He has the shine. And Charles do not. And we all know the horse do not. So it's not Harry's fault, but yet and still they always try to blame him and Meghan for something that they have no control over. They can't help that they are interesting people. You just are or you are not. And we all know it is a family of the left behinds or not. And so all I can say to that is too bad. All right, y'all, I'm going to put up some of the responses to Richard K's article because you know I wasn't going to go in there and read that nonsense. And one squatty said this: the same way they ignored the Invictus Games earlier this year, they can ignore Harry's presence in the UK and Meghan's products and podcast launches, but they choose not to. Whose fault is that really? Yes, whose fault is that really? Because it's definitely not Harry and Meghan. They are living their lives and they have a right to do that. They can't help that those folks are just as boring as dishwater. I mean, dishwater that has been used already. But yet and still, they have to have somebody to blame for the mediocrity but themselves. Absolutely. They chose these people. They choose to uphold their mediocrity and this monarchy. So all I can say is, live with it. All right, y'all. The next squatty says this: my slightly snarky take. And I found this so funny because this particular squatty is just absolutely on point when they say this: if the fail wants Charles on the front page, they could. Now, listen real closely. They could, and I know this is wild, put him on the front page. Why do these people act like Harry and Meghan is somehow holding them hostage and making them put them on the front page, making them listen to their podcast, making them buy all of their products? And I love this particular squatty's take. It said, I know it's a wow, it might be wow, but why don't you just put him on the front page? And then it goes on to say, breaking: King Charles couldn't get a front page because the press didn't give him a front page. Exactly. Exactly. If you want Charles on the front page, if you don't want Harry to overshadow him, put him on the front page. But we all know you're not going to do that because they don't bring in the eyeballs. Nobody cares about Charles. I think I put up a post that Roy Nika had posted, I think it was yesterday in my podcast, and it had two, and I kid you not, two comments. And like I said at the time, I bet if I went in there to see what those two comments were, they probably they probably was negative. So they're not going to put Charles on the front page when Harry has his feet on the ground of the UK because they know who is the money maker here. And it's definitely not their king. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this this particular swati said this. You mean the cancer stricken father who is traveling in Italy as we speak? If King Charles III was that important, Richard K would not be focusing on Harry. Where is the lie? Yes, he would have his king on the front page. And he would be talking about his king because let's not get it twisted. He has an option to do that because they do have freedom of the press over there. So, Richard K., this is a thought. Why not exercise your freedom of the press and put your king on your front page? And stop complaining about Harry, merely existing and calling him a scene stealer, especially when you are helping him to steal the scene. I'm just saying. All right, the next squatty says this, and you wonder why no one has any interest in King Charles. People are fed up with the faux outrage machine. Prince Harry didn't force the media to focus on him. Can't say I blame the media though. Prince Harry's presence was the most exciting thing to happen in the UK this year. Wow, I'm telling you, I don't even know what to say to that, except they are in big, big, big trouble because the monarchy is absolutely circling the drain. And it has been said by quite a few people that, yeah, they're in trouble. I'm just saying. And they are in trouble because of Charles. Charles is the head of the monarchy, he is the head of the country, and he's the head of that family. And he is failing, and he is failing spectacularly. He really is because he is a trash individual, always have been, and his father even knew that. Prince Philip knew who Charles was, and this particular squatty is posting about what is pretty much known what Prince Philip thought of Charles. And this squatty said this: Prince Philip reportedly believed Charles would destroy the monarchy in no time. Turns out he knew his son well and was 100% right. William, of course, will be the final nail in the coffin. Where's the lie? Where is it? Because we know these two mediocre individuals could not stand up to what Queen Elizabeth did. Now, I'm not bragging on Queen Betty. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Queen Betty. But one thing she could do her duty. She absolutely was queen in every sense of the word. Charles is such a failed individual. He is. He failed when he went there and married his horse and made her queen. It is just ridiculous. You should see all of the comments about their 20th anniversary today. Boy, I don't think they were expecting that. It in the comments on these different web pages that they posted about their wedding anniversary, the king and his horse's wedding anniversary. Ooh, people went in on them. They absolutely did. And like I said, if he don't know he's a failed individual before today, he know it now because those comments are brutal. And we're going to talk about them a little later. But yes, I think Prince Philip had this right on point. He did. And I'm going to put this up. And this is what they say Prince Philip actually said. And it says, at a dinner with friends, Prince Philip is said to have described Queen Elizabeth, then 91, as being in robust health and likely to live for at least another 10 years or more. Charles would have little opportunity to damage the monarchy if he were king for only a brief period, he reportedly added. Bowers' own account says that the Duke also voiced doubt about whether his son, who had barely come to terms with the 20th century could unify the country in the 21st century. I mean, woo, was he on point or was he on point? One thing about Prince Philip, he knew who he had raised and he knew it was not much. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I'm going to talk about the king and his horse's anniversary. Like I said, today is their 20th anniversary. And of course, a lot of people was posting about it. ABC, CBS, all those people over across the pond. I saw GBS, ITV, BBC, you name it. They were posting about it. But I was going in those comments and let me tell you, those comments was brutal, brutal. And like I have said earlier, if Charles didn't know that they were in trouble before today, he should know it now because those comments, people are just coming straight for them. Now, I'm just going to put up a few, but let me tell you, it is web page after web page, whatever news organization that posted about it or any entity that posted about it, the comments are brutal. They are just not buying this whole love story bit. Especially, I think I saw on GB News, they were trying to play up that this was a 44 or 45-year old love story or some kind of nonsense they were trying to play up. And people was just not having it. So I'm going to post this one by CBS. And CBS News here in the state said this: King Charles III and Queen Camilla met more than 50 years ago, but their romance had to survive meddling families, marriages to other people, and no small amount of public ridicule before they finally married. Well, this is just an example of some of the things that they put down there in the comments. And this particular person said this: she is not the queen, but a scheming, destructive bed wench. Yes, they did. And as you see, they posted the Camilla Gate manuscript and put the poor little old boy that she chose to use as a means of becoming queen. Yes, this little boy right here, she looked at that little sad faced little boy who had just lost his mother and said, I will use him in order to be queen. I am going to feed him piece by piece to the wolves until they understand that I am willing to do anything in order for them to be gracious to me. And that includes feeding Diana's baby boy to the wolves. And Charles was fully on board with this. That's why I said Charles is a trash individual. And they want us to believe that he wants to see his grandchildren. This man could care less about his grandchildren. Grandchildren, get real. He saw this little boy who had tragically lost his mother, didn't know what direction to go, and absolutely decided to feed him to the wolves, to use him as a tool to clear the way for his horse. So, miss me. I'm just saying. So, yes, they were brutal. And all I can say is they were justified. All right, I'm going to put this one up. And this particular person said this: a reminder that Camilla only started bonking Charles because her boyfriend, Andrew Parker Bowles, was bonking, was bonking Anne. Yes, two siblings was involved in this weird and sexual foursome with a couple in an open relationship. STIs all around. Anyway, Happy anniversary. Hashtag love story. Y'all, I love it. It is so messy and I love it. I don't know who this squatty is, but I want to be her friend. All right, y'all. Chris Ship, he posted about their anniversary as well. And I tell you what, his comments were about in line with anybody else who decided to stick their head above ground and post about these two. His comments also took no prisoners. It was brutal in the comments. Let me tell you. And he had posted this. He said some words from the horse tonight as secrets of her happy marriage as she and King Charles marked their 20th wedding anniversary while on the state visit in Italy. And one of the people in the comments said this: the secret? Sleep with a married man and a father of two children. You guys really do deserve the roles that you have. Charles and Camilla, liars and adulterers who tormented a 19-year-old girl. William and Kate, beyond lazy and boring. Andrew, a sex pest and traitor, giving away access to the brutal. Absolutely brutal. That's all I can say. All right, y'all. I'm going to put this one up. And this particular person said this: oh, I don't know. Court a teenager, marry and rob her of her life, discard her when she produces heirs, make sure she dies in the process, then marry your concubine. Easy peasy. I cannot, y'all. I cannot. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put this one up. And this particular squatty had a question, and it says, "Please tell me the Daily Fail is trolling Willie with this caption." And let's go down and see exactly what caption they're talking about. This is William at another. When I tell you another football match, that is all he is doing. He seems like he is in love with all these men kicking these balls, if you know what I'm saying. And then look down at the caption. It says Prince William went through an emotional roller coaster as Villa led before being pegged back. Y'all, what y'all think? Y'all think the fail is absolutely trolling William? I think so. I do. And it is so funny. It is hilarious to me and so delicious. Yes. All right, y'all. I am going to put this up because Angela Levin, the troll doll, the living troll doll, was trying to comfort Harry, talking about somebody's funeral. I don't even know who this person is, but trying to always use something to make people believe that Harry is being slighted in some way because he cares about what he's not getting to do. But I digress. She had the nerve to get here on Beyonce's internet and post this. This is what she said. She said, wow, Radar, meaning Radar Online, I'm sure, says that Harry will be barred from attending the funeral of 77-year-old Graham Nacker, bodyguard walking with the royals behind the coffin and then in front of the hearse. I guess maybe at Diana's funeral. I don't know what she's talking about. But she says this: William and Charles don't want him overshadowing the tribute with drama. What kind of drama? Him breathing in and out, because that's the only drama Harry brings. Harry just exists, and y'all create the drama around him and then try to blame him for the drama you're creating. But I digress. And this particular squatty came in swiftly and came in hard and said this. Radar Online also reports that William has a PORN obsession. Mm, I bet it was crickets after that particular post. I didn't see anything else. She had nothing to add. She will learn. They will learn. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I'm going to put this up, and this is about Princess Lilibeth's godfather, Tyler Perry, and what he has been up to. And what he has been up to is nothing but good. And this particular post says this. Tyler Perry just paid $2.7 million to cover the increasing property taxes of low income seniors giving back. Yes, these are the kind of people that Princess Lilibeth is going to be raised around. Yes, real warm blooded human beings. These are the people she's going to be raised by. You know, giving, kind, caring, empathetic people. You know, the ones who have emotion. Yes, those kind of people, not lizard people, not the cold-blooded ones, the ones who does nothing but sting and sting and sting and sting, not those. So yes, this is Princess Lilibeth's godfather out here doing great things, out here doing good. I love it. All right, y'all, this is going to be my last one. And I just saw this picture. I don't know who did it. If you can tell me who did it, but I love it because it's everything. That's all I can say. He is good King Harry. And this particular squatty that posted this picture said this. Whatever the outcome of the court case, one thing can be said about Harry. He will fight tooth and nail with his last breath to protect his family. It's the case of David and Goliath. Harry is his mother's son, a heart of a lion. Where is the lie? Harry do not play about his family. And that's one thing they understand. That's why they attack Meghan so hard, because they know that they're striking at the heart of Harry. He loves his wife. He loves his children. And he don't play about them. And that is the reason why he keeps showing up with that determined look on his face. Harry Harry walked into that courtroom like he came to battle. He did. And I just love that. I do. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.